October is essentially over and Halloween is tomorrow, and I'm going to rank all the movies that were released in October 2023 from worst to best. Granted, I am going to talk about some technicalities. For example, Totally Killer was a movie that technically premiered and released in September 28th, along with The Burial. This movie also technically premiered in September, but it is in select theaters. So depending on which logic I'm choosing to go through is what makes this tricky. But I'm kind of just gonna try to stick to the technicalities and say that these are not actually October releases. But if I were going to rank them, I would rank The Burial in second place, and then I would rank Totally Killer in third place. So that's how I would do it, and then so that's how it would go. But because I'm not just gonna be legit, I'm going to do my official ranking now. And coming in third place is Ballerina. This is a movie that I really liked. I liked this movie quite a bit, and essentially it's just a short hour and a half action movie, but it's got a really unique style. As it's a Korean language film, but it's got such a unique style in the way the action is done. I just thought that it was a really fun time, and there had some very unique visuals which were just beautiful to see. And this is a movie that it's only an hour and a half, so it flies by. And it is a very fun movie. You get some very fun action. But I think what kind of holds this movie back a bit is the character of Okju herself. I mean, she doesn't really have that much personality. She's just kind of like this relentless killer, like getting revenge. Like, you care about her because, I mean, she's getting revenge for her friend. Like, in a way, like, she's not like a terrible person. So you're kind of invested in her. But like she doesn't have that much personality, so there's not really that much going on with her. So I think that's why it has to come in at number three. And coming in second place is Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, okay, well, this is a movie where it is very fun, but at the same time, I just wish it was scarier. I liked this movie, and I have not played the games. So going into this movie, I really just wanted to have a fun time, and I did. But I did know that the games are horror games. And this movie is kind of marketed as a horror, and there are some kind of scary scenes, but the PG-13 rating really holds it back. And I think I could just imagine a better movie when I watch this. And in a way, in many ways, like I would say a movie like Ballerina actually has a lot better action. But I mean, overall, I don't know. And but I think what makes maybe FNAF just a bit better is I just was maybe a little bit more entertained by Five Nights at Freddy's. And that's my main problem with this movie is it's just not it's a horror movie that's not really scary, or at least that's I think it's trying to be a horror movie. But don't get me wrong, I liked this movie. I enjoyed it. I had a ton of fun with it. I am glad that I watched it. But it's like, I mean, it just kind of makes me a little bit angry because I'm like, I just wish it was scarier. But in terms of the plot and premise, I don't really have any problems with it. I think the actors are charming. I think Matthew Lillard is great in this movie. And I really enjoyed Josh Hutcherson, as well as the actress who played Abby. I thought she did a great job. So, like I said, my only main problem with this movie was the fact that it just wasn't that scary. And I do think they're definitely going to do a sequel. I mean, this movie's been already made its budget back in like 3 days. And I do hope that they might go for an R rating because even though I'm not really, don't know that much about FNAF, I know about the lore, I know about how dark it can get. And I think an R rating could definitely make a much better movie. But overall, I really did enjoy this movie. And coming in number one is easily Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, this movie was incredible. It's a movie you watch and you feel sick almost the whole time you're watching it, as you see these people do these awful things, but yet you are so engrossed the whole time. I mean, and the performances are incredible. I mean, the top tier talent: Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. I mean, that sheer amount of talent. And I don't really know much about Lily Gladstone, so I can't really speak for her, but she was a fantastic in this movie, and she was definitely the best actress. Well, gave the best performance of any of the actors in this movie, but everyone was doing a fantastic job. I mean, De Niro is just so heinous in this movie. And DiCaprio gives probably his best performance of his entire career, as he's in this one he plays like rather, I guess, dumb person, and you still buy it from him, but he still comes across very charming because, I mean, hey, it's DiCaprio, and I mean, who doesn't love Leonardo? So I mean, this is a movie that I thought was just kind of perfect, and I think it was the best movie of the year. I mean, the only negatives I would really have to say about it is, I mean, it's gut wrenching. It can be hard to watch. And I mean, if I were to, of these movies that I talked about, this is probably the last movie I would want to rewatch, at least for a little bit. But because the acting is incredible, and because this story about these Osage people is so engaging, and you get to learn about the Osage people, which makes it even more sickening when you see them get killed and you see these heinous things happen. It is just done in such an incredible and disgusting way that just makes you feel sick, and you want this to end, but at the same time you're on the edge of your seat throughout this whole movie, and it is just incredible. And I think that personally, I think that this is probably the best movie of the year, at least in my opinion, and certainly the best movie of the month. But yeah, I really didn't have any negatives to say. But I mean, 3.5 hours, there are probably some points where you could probably trim some stuff out, make it a little shorter. But even though it was 3.5 hours, I was never really bored with this movie. So, like I said, if I wasn't going by like technicalities and was talking about each of these movies, because some of these movies like premiered like theatrically or whatever, um, earlier in the year, but then released like on streaming and Netflix, and they kind of were advertising in select theaters, but the world premiere was like in September. I would rank it as Ballerina last, then then FNAF, which I still really liked, then Totally Killer, then The Burial, and then Killers of the Flower Moon. So that's how it would go if I am including all of these, but I did want to go over those select movies that were not technically released in October, but were released in like, were kind of like put on streaming in October, but the world premiere was in September. So I didn't really want to cheat, but that's how it would go. But if we're going off based on what we have, I would put Ballerina in third place, which I still liked, then FNAF or Five Nights at Freddy's, and then Killers of the Flower Moon. But of all these movies, I thoroughly enjoyed all these movies. And I mean, like I said, I think Killers of the Flower Moon is probably the best movie of the year. I think that it has the best performances of the year. And I I mean, I just thought that a lot of these movies were good. And like, I mean, I thought that FNAF had some really fun moments and was very, very fun throughout. And I thought that Ballerina was just a fun little action movie. But those are basically my rankings of all of the October 2023 releases. And just let me know, how would you rank the movies that came out this month? I would love to know. Just leave a comment of ranking the movies that you saw this month. And yeah, subscribe for more reviews and rankings. And leave a like if you enjoyed this review. Or this video, I should say.